Welcome to the show. My name is Monickie Scott.
And this is your girl, Felina B. Flossin. We are so excited to have you join us today. In this world we live in, everybody's looking for that 5-star rating. Well, how do you rate yourself?
It's our intention that by listening to this podcast, the 5-Star Living Show, we will help you move towards your own 5-star rating by finding more ways to live life more balanced by focusing on the mind, body, and soul while laughing more and loving more.
Yes, and with all that we deal with day to day, from work to home, it's important to do a regular emotions check and see, as Wendy Williams would say, how you doing?
How you doing?
So today we're going to ask ourselves, am I too emotional?
Ooh, am I too emotional? I don't think I've asked myself that lately.
Yeah. Well, this is the day we're all asking ourselves. You know, some people are criers.
Mm-hmm.
It may not take much but a reminder of a past experience or the thought of a lost loved one, an emotional scene in an animated movie. So, okay, do you remember, I might be dating myself, but do you remember the movie Dumbo?
Okay, yeah.
In that scene where the mom is locked up and she puts her trunk through the bars and she cradles him and he's crying. Oh my God.
I can tell you remember that very vividly. I'm not going to say I remember it, but
Oh my God.
That must be one of your movies.
Yes. It was such a teary moment. You know, it's crazy. Animated movies can make you cry.
Oh, I think we all cried just a little bit on that. We all cried.
Yes. And, you know, we cry when someone else shares their personal experiences, when we have that empathetic side. We cry on feelings of defeat and when things don't go well in our lives.
We cry at the birth of babies. We even cry at weddings, and this is a joyous occasion, but what do they say? Tears of joy?
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. Why does joy bring you tears just like pain does?
We cry at breakups.
Oh, yeah.
Cry laughing.
Just finished doing that.
It's true.
Still wondering if my makeup is off, y'all, because this chick right here,
hey.
she brings the funny.
Very true.
Some people feel it's a sign of weakness, or shall I say, some have been taught that it's a sign of weakness. You know.
Yeah, and you know, there's a term like men aren't supposed to cry.
Oh yeah.
And the reality is, in my world, I've experienced some of the toughest, strongest of men who, you know how to cry, weep.
But I can remember I was brought up in a family full of boys, men. I was like one girl out of many boys. And I remember that being a saying all the time. Toughen up, boy. Stop that crying. You don't need to cry. Yeah. You know, and I guess as me being a girl amongst so many boys and men, boys to men.
That's her group right there.
Being amongst so many, I think I probably kind of picked some of that up. So hearing it so much, I thought crying, that's just not a good thing. Yeah. But
it really is good for you. I was a bit of a crybaby. I'm the youngest of older boys, so you know, crying is actually a natural and effective way to relieve stress, and this even applies to the men.
Wow.
Like, have you ever had a good cry session and suddenly you feel so much better?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm gonna even go back to the day when you was a little kid after the whooping. When you used to get your whooping. No, my mama wasn't a child. Well, maybe she was. Anyway, we ain't talking about her right now. But after you got your whooping, after the crying was over, it was like, oh, okay, well, back to normal. Nobody died. But yes, even in our older year, in our grown years, it's really good sometimes when things are just so, you're just stressed out, you're frustrated, things aren't going the way that you planned. You can find a little quiet corner and go cry. One of my favorite scenes in another movie, I must be watching too many movies, but one of my favorite scenes is Sex in the City, where she had a hard day at work, and then she comes home and the baby's crying and the husband wants this, and she just kindly, politely goes into her little kitchen her kitchen cupboard and she just cries, right? And then she comes out and she straightens up and everything is all fine. Okay, I'm ready to go now. So yes, crying can definitely help release some of that. And you feel so much better afterwards.
If I could go back to the spankings as a child. Okay. The only reason I was happy is that it was over. Okay. So there's a study from the University of Minnesota. I think it's Dr. William Frey. He found that crying ignited by your emotions actually improves the mood of 88% of people and can also help in healing, boosting immunity, and reducing levels of anger and stress.
So you're saying like there's a level of crying that is actually that good for you.
Yeah, a level, like you said, a level. And I know I feel much better when I can have a moment to release stress via a good tear session. I mean, there's some traumatic experiences that some of us may never ever get over, no matter how many times a person say, oh, you got to let it go. Some things we hold on deep. And so by having those controlled moments of letting go and crying can be that regular dose of medicine for your soul. So cry it out and then, adjust and keep pushing.
Yeah, that's so true. Yes. I know if you've ever seen a person that has lost a loved one and for whatever reason, they haven't been able to release or cry that out, that I know I'm always like, ooh, but when it comes, it's something that just has to get out of you. So I guess when I'm thinking about it, I'm speaking about it right now. As you cry, it's God's way of putting that release, that all natural release in us so that we don't have to hold it in and it doesn't become this stress ball that could actually end up harming us in ways of making us sick or killing us. Let it out. And if crying is the way you do that, then do that. Do that.
It's okay to cry.
So in just a few moments, we're going to answer some questions from our 5-star supporters.
That we love.
Like, is there such thing as being too emotional? And is there help for being too emotional? But first, make sure you like us on Facebook at 5-Star Living Show and remember to subscribe on YouTube.
Yes.
So one of the questions we had was, I don't cry too much, but is there such a thing as being too emotional? I think there is when, like, say for instance, you're this really fussy person and you're always fussing and you're always finding ways to get into confrontations, or anytime somebody says something to you, it's an offense. What are you looking at?
Right.
Who are you? What are you saying that? Why'd you say that to me? If you're always stuck in your head about how somebody did you wrong, why they do that to me? And they always doing that to me. Or perhaps you need to check yourself and confront your own frame of mind. Yeah. There is a such thing as being too emotional. And it's that every little itty bitty ticky thing just bothers you.
Yeah.
Some
people call it being too sensitive.
Yeah.
And being too emotional can add so much more drama to your life, right? If you're not in control, it can lead to constant negative interactions with others because you always feel like someone is challenging you, or you're just always, they blinked twice, so that must mean
right.
Right.
That's for me.
Right. You have to be cognizant of that.
Yeah.
And the next, so it's not a question, but the statement from our audience, she says, I've tried meditation, changing my diet, tried therapy, but can't get a grasp of unstable emotions. Yes, very understandable. And, some have a really tough time on a day-to-day because they're dealing with hormonal issues that they may not be able to control on their own. And could use additional assistance in the form of possibly a hormone specialist.
Yeah, there are some great doctors out there that have done many years of study to diagnose and treat a lot of hormonal imbalances. And sometimes we as women don't even know that that's what's going on. Yeah. But you may need to reach out and at least go get checked and find out.
Yeah, yes, indeed. There's many of them out there. I know Dr. Orlandis Wells of Henderson,
Dr.
Nevada.
Wells.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Wells.
Hi, Doctor. He has a very comprehensive practice that specializes in the care of stabilizing hormones and getting individuals back on track to living their best lives. So I would definitely advise checking your area for the right specialist.
Very important. Check your area for the right specialist. And you may be surprised, ask some of your female friends if they have a doctor and get some recommendations, or ask them how they're doing, or even ask them, how did you find out you had that balance? What were you going through? You might find out that you have some of those same symptoms that they had.
Because the reality is, we don't have to have it all figured out. But if we start asking questions, ask our friends, check with a doctor, get help.
Yeah.
That's why it's out there.
And I hope we answered your question. You had said that you do everything that you believe you could do to keep your emotions in check, but just isn't working. So yeah, I would now move forward to at least going to your doctor and asking the question and seeing if that has anything to do with it. I know women who have done the hormonal, it's not called treatments. It's called I'm not sure what it's called at the moment, but they've gone to the doctor, they've gotten the help they needed, and their quality of life has just turned out to be a whole lot better than what it is now. So
exactly. Do your research.
Do your research. Get checked.
Yeah. So coming up, we're about to share some very valuable tips with you on how you could do an emotional balance check. But first,
make sure to like us on Facebook at 5 Star Living Show. We want to hear from you. Yes. Give us some feedback. What do you want to learn more about when it comes to your mind, body, soul, while loving more and laughing more? So let's talk about a few ways that you could be living more 5-star by checking your emotions.
Yes.
The first thing is you want to practice self-awareness. Self-awareness is about learning yourself from what you do, why you do it, how you feel about it, and so on. Analyze your own thoughts and actions and reactions before you just automatically jump to those conclusions or just jump and act all the time. Practice some self-awareness. Are you aware of who you are, how you're feeling at the moment? Sometimes I know when I get tired, that's a time where I can be snappy and not even know that I'm being snappy, but it'll take somebody to say, whoa, what's wrong with you? Like, what do you mean what's wrong with me? Oh. And then I can feel in myself, okay, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I need to go get some rest so that I can be more refreshed and not be snapping at everybody.
Yeah. Like how we discussed in a previous show, having that one bar.
One bar. When you're on one bar.
When you're on one bar, then you might want to clear yourself from the crowd.
Get away from me.
Readjust. Know your triggers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Know what triggers you.
It's like those, don't they have those commercials about being hangry?
Right. Get a Snicker.
Right. There's sometimes that you're just hungry.
Yeah.
It may not be your fault that you're being emotional.
Right.
You just need to eat.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what are some other ways we can check our emotions?
Segueing from that, channel your emotions, because your emotions are the signals telling us to pay attention to something.
Okay.
Right. So, for example, if your mood is off, maybe you think, oh, I didn't eat anything. Because I know a lot of people say when they get headaches, they need water.
Right.
Right. So
dehydration.
So, paying attention to those signs. So when it helps us decide whether or not that something is important, and then select the best course of action in addressing it or not. In other words, pick your battle.
Yeah, you said it best when you said emotions are signals telling us to pay attention to something. So whether we're mad, whether we're sad, whether we're happy, whether we're angry, there's something that we're needing to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And every now and then, if you just stop and just take just a few seconds and really think about where you are in that moment, 9 times out of 10, you're going to react a whole lot differently than just the first reaction and the first emotion that comes your way. So very important. Channel your emotions.
Absolutely.
Learn to motivate yourself. As you learn your emotional patterns, learn to motivate yourself accordingly. If you know you're getting depressed, and you can feel it coming on, do something that will make you feel better. Put on some uplifting music, go out of the house, watch some cartoons. Those always make me laugh, right? But you have to learn what makes you feel better. And then you have to do those things. It's not going to just happen for you.
Yeah. And it's funny because as we talk about emotions, it's all about self.
All about self.
We have to really look at ourselves instead of having, these unbalanced emotions and, targeting everybody else as if they're the problem. Like my mom used to always say, if a child goes from school to school to school to school and have the same problems, who is the problem? It's not the school.
It's not the schools.
It's what keeps going to these various schools. So we have to look at ourselves.
Same thing in life. If you keep going to relationship, to relationship, to relationship, to relationship, to okay. Let me stop.
That's quite a few relationships.
Because I don't want to sound like, people aren't supposed to have more than one relationship. But there does come a time where if every few months you're jumping relationship, you might want to check yourself and what are you doing that you could be doing better.
Right, which is another point in recognizing the emotions in others and creating healthier relationships.
Yes.
And that's outside of dealing with inward emotions as it comes to relationships. It's important to deal with other people, whether it be romantic relationships, family, friends, or even strangers, to begin with recognition and a respect for the other person's emotional needs as well. Because can't nobody read your mind.
Nope.
Or know when you might be hangry.
Nope.
Or know if they say this, it may be a sensitive spot for them, or if their actions can be offensive. And so we want to think about that too.
Yeah.
And not act like we can just come at a person and be who we want to be, but be sensitive. Like what motivates this person?
Yeah.
What makes them feel uncomfortable, or how can I be sensitive to their needs?
Right. Makes sense. And then next, you want to infuse your emotions with values. We're always considering what our value system is. And oftentimes we're not aware of that we are creating this value system, right? It's our emotionals that hold it's our emotions that hold those values by motivating our action or reaction in some kind of way. So be very aware of what you truly value, because that's what's really going to direct your emotions.
Wow. Very, very good point. Well, we want to thank you guys.
Okay, producer. Okay, super producer. That's a wrap, huh?
Wow, let's check our emotions.
Didn't you hear the show?
Shall we reiterate?
This has been good. This has been good. I have learned a lot.
Indeed. Well, we want to thank you guys for listening to us and joining us on this 5-star day. We believe in you, and we believe you can have a more 5-star life starting right now.
And we know you could have chosen to be anywhere, but you chose to be right here with us. So for that, we thank you. We look forward to seeing you on Facebook at 5-Star Living Show. Join us in the 5-Star Living Inner Circle, because we want you to laugh more and love more while taking care of your mind, body, and soul.
So, hey, do us a favor on purpose. Make it a point to have a 5-star day.
The 5-Star Living Show is sponsored in part by MVPphotographer.com, and special thanks goes out to our super producer, Mr. Dana Scott. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 5-Star Living Show. Take care of your mind, body, and soul. And remember, love more and laugh more.